Today I'm looking forward to discuss null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. If the null hypothesis is true, then alternate hypothesis is going to be false. On the other hand, if alternate hypothesis is true, then the null hypothesis is going to be false because these two events are not only mutually exclusive but also they are collectively exhaustive. Moving on to next page, let's take an example in criminal justice. Let's say I am driving a car in the New York State and I go above the speed limit and a police officer happens to notice that. He summons me to the court. Few days later, when I visit the court, the justice gives me two choices. First option would be he would assume I am innocent and it's the responsibility of a police officer to substantiate that with evidence that I am guilty. The second choice is he will assume I am guilty and it's my responsibility to protect myself and prove I am innocent. Of course, choice 1 is beneficial to me because I don't have to prove anything. It is the responsibility of the police officer to go over and beyond and substantiate that I am guilty. So, in that aspect, I am given the benefit of doubt. If we start the game by assuming I am innocent. Well, now let's look at this table. On the top in the blue color, we have two scenarios. Scenario number 1, I am innocent. And scenario number 2, I am guilty. If I am innocent in reality, that is the state. That means I was not speeding. Okay. But what happens is when a case goes to the court, the decision can be either ways. The decision can say that I am innocent, and which is totally acceptable scenario because I am in fact innocent. On the other hand, if I was innocent but by mistake they told I am guilty and I get convicted, in that case it is error and it is a false alarm. When I am innocent, it was decided that I am guilty. And this kind of error in statistics we call it as type 1 error. Now let's talk about a scenario when in fact I am guilty. That means I was speeding and the police officer produces the evidence that I am guilty, which is okay because when I am guilty, they produce the document that I am guilty. On the other hand, there is a odds that sometime they may fail to detect that when I am in fact guilty. That kind of scenario is called type 2 error where they missed to make a deduction of a particular event. So now let's talk little more statistical term. To start with, we assume I am innocent, that we call it as null hypothesis, and then it is the responsibility of our case to prove whether I am innocent or not. Right? In a similar fashion, we can consider one more example to understand this better. Before that, let's understand what is type 1 error and type 2 error in little more detail. Type 1 error is rejected a true null hypothesis, or we reject a null hypothesis when it's actually true. That means I am innocent but we reject it and we assume the alternate hypothesis is true. On the other hand, type 2 error is we accept a false null hypothesis. That is, here we have a false null hypothesis and we accept that to be true, where we are missing to deduct something. Right? Okay. Now let's take one more example of a clinical trial which is getting approved in the Court of Food and Drug Administration. We have to take a decision in the best interest of the public. So whenever a new drug comes into FDA, then the FDA says, let us make a null hypothesis saying that the drug is not working. And it's the responsibility of the pharmaceutical company to go over and beyond and prove it that it is working. So now, how do we formulate a null hypothesis? To formulate a null hypothesis, we have to make two hypotheses, the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. And the null hypothesis, we take a position which is unfavorable. And then if there is overwhelming evidence in favor of the alternate hypothesis, then we reject the null hypothesis. In the case of a pharmaceutical drug, when a drug comes to FDA, we assume the drug is not working, and it is the responsibility of the pharmaceutical company to go over and beyond and prove it is working in the best interest of the public, and then the FDA would approve that. And once it's approved, then the pharmaceutical company can go ahead and market and sell the product in the market. Now let's discuss what is significant. Whenever we do a test, we say it has to be tested at a 5% significant or a 10% or a 1%. What does it actually mean? Now, before that, whenever we have any distribution, it is very difficult to do analysis on it if it is not standardized. So what we do is we standardize all distribution into a standard normal distribution by doing a Z transform, where we take the distribution, we subtract the mean, and then we divide by the standard deviation. This kind of distribution will have a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. Because we are subtracting the mean, then finally its mean becomes 0 for the whole distribution. And because we are dividing by the standard deviation itself, what is going to happen is the standard deviation of the transformed uh, distribution is going to be 1. In this case, we are looking at a two-tailed test. That means we are going to study both the tails. We have one tail in blue color and one tail in red color. And if we want to do a test at a 10% significance, then the z value should be less than minus 1.65 or greater than plus 1.65. On the other hand, for 5% it is 1.96, and for 1% it's 2.58. That should be the z value to come to conclude that the test is significant. Now look at this decision rule. We have to come with a decision rule for the pharmaceutical company saying that it is working at a 5% significant level, and then the company has to test on, let's say, thousands of patients and prove that it is working with this level of significance. And if the test is at a 5% level, then the z value should be 1.645, and if it is at 1% level, it should be 2.33. Wait, the numbers here and the numbers here are different. That's because the test can be performed on two-tailed test or one-tailed test. Two-tailed test means it can be lower or higher, and on if it is on either side, we call the test is working and we reject the null hypothesis. And if it is one-sided test, then that means it has to work only on one side. So let's say we have a drug which will lower the body temperature. In that case, it is a one-tailed test because lowering of body temperature should be always on one side. Okay, moving on to the next page. Let's look at this diagram. In this diagram, we have a standard normal distribution which we see here, and we have this threshold value at a alpha of 5%. So here we see z of alpha, which is at 5%. That means the probability here is 5%, as the probability under the whole curve is 1% or is 100%, and the z value is minus 1.645. That being said, now we take the sample data on which we are doing, let's say, the drug test. We take the data and we do our analysis, and on that data we figure out what is z of 0. Okay, and if the test statistics z0 we calculate happens to be on the right hand side of this red line, then we do not reject the null hypothesis and we accept the null hypothesis that the drug is not working. On the other hand, when we do the test statistics and the z value happens to be less than minus 1.645, which is on the left hand side, then we reject the null hypothesis and we say, yes, the drug is working. Then what is this p value? So the alpha is the value of the probability, which is 5%. And if this new number z0 which we find out, if that is on the left hand side, that means the p value is less than 5%. And if it is on the right hand side, the p value is more than 5% because it has more area under it. Now we go ahead and do the test statistics on the sample patient and we calculate what is the z value. And when we do that, we figure it out that z value is more than minus 1.645. So as it is on the right hand side of this dotted red line, we do not reject the null hypothesis. As we don't reject the null hypothesis, that means the alternate hypothesis is false and the drug is not working in this particular scenario. On the other hand, if the test statistics was on the left hand side, then I would have rejected the null hypothesis and told the drug is good, ready for marketing. Anyways, in our scenario, it's good that we concluded the drug is not working. That gives the opportunity to the pharmaceutical company to make another one which is effective and a better one. With this, I am done with the concepts of null hypothesis. I hope you enjoy this. And if you like my video, I would request you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Have a good day.